My guest today is a sharp acquisitions advisor, and he helps founders turn financial discipline into enterprise value. That's what we're all about, I think, isn't it? He's supported over 100 transactions worth more than 450 million of His Majesty's British pounds in acquired revenue. He's led diligence in high stakes deals, and he has built founder side exit confidence, which is a thing that many of us lack. He's an economist turned chartered accountant, and he now helps owner operators buy smarter, grow stronger, and exit richer. Thank you, and welcome to Leadership That Sells. This is a podcast about the real conditions where leadership and sales actually work and where they quietly break down. And I like talking to founders, to chief execs, to sales leaders, and operators really who have had to make decisions when the effort was high, when everything was going right-ish, but the pressure was real, but then all of a sudden the usual playbook stopped fitting. We're not here to trade slogans or magical five-step frameworks, even though some of them are good. What we're here to do is to surface patterns, what consistently creates momentum, what gets in the way, and then what experienced leaders eventually learn to stop doing. So if you are responsible for results, not just for ideas, you're absolutely in the right place. That said, Saul Cohen, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on. Look forward to chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've done more than 100 deals, okay? That's fair enough. That's good. That's some decent experience. What is the most expensive leadership blind spot that you see that founders repeatedly miss before they get to an exit or an acquisition?
Their own ego. Um,
Ah, how
yeah,
important they are and how essential they are.
yeah. Look, I think with anything, knowledge is like a circle, right? And what you know is inside the circle, and what you know you don't know is the perimeter. And as you learn more, your perimeter gets bigger. You know that you don't know more. Um, And I think that the biggest issue in acquisitions is that there is so much that you don't know that you don't know. Um, and I have seen pretty much a circle of the same issues play out over and over and over again, right, by now. And generally, when things go bad, it comes down to one of two things, either cash flow
Mm.
or the people in the business, the culture of the business. Um, and I think that, but really, those two things actually come down to one thing, and that is the owner not knowing what they don't know, or the acquirer not knowing what they don't know. Because when you know that you don't what you don't know, what it is you need support with, you can go out, you can build a team around you, you can get the right advisors in next to you, you can get support, um, and you can ask a question. But if you don't know that the question needs to be asked, you think you're in the worst possible position because you think that you are okay, and actually your head's in the sand and you haven't even realized.
I mean, the first thing, I mean, I've done a bit of advisory and helped quite a few people get to different places in exits, acquisitions, and stuff. And one of the first things that I'm always pointing people towards is the library, right?
Mm,
Go to the library, go to Amazon, go and buy, um, intelligent M&A, go and buy mergers and acquisitions for dummies, you know? It's not hard stuff really when you get down to it. It's there's a lot of finance, there's a lot of law, there's a lot of bits and pieces like that. But go find out. Go find out what the process is. It's a fairly well-trodden path.
mm. And I think you know what we live in a world where there's so much available information available to us. There is it there the problem, but again, even when you think about with AI, right? I can ask AI anything,
Mm,
but the quality of the response is
mm.
always based on the question that I ask it, right?
Yes.
So if I ask it to tell me about AI, about acquisition, sorry, it will give me a whole load of really useful information about how to do diligence and what financials to look for and all of that stuff, good stuff. Really, really good. But will it tell you how to manage the thing afterwards? Will it tell you how to create emotional safety with your team? No, because you didn't know that you needed to ask about emotional safety with your team and sort of psychological safety and creating an environment where your team, your new team who have been through this change, you haven't even thought about the fact that you need to get them on board unless you know, unless you've heard someone talk about it. You're not aware of these things. And actually, I've got a book coming out towards the end of the year, just after the summer, and one of the big things that prompted me to write that book was I saw two people make an acquisition, make a deal, but have come to a deal, right? Business seller, run a fantastic business, a business owner that I really respect. Actually, I still really respect him. Does incredible things in business. Sold a £3 million business, making about 600K profit. Really nice, tidy business to another business owner that I also respected at the time, um, that had made acquisitions before, and I thought this is the perfect deal. It's going to go really well. And post completion, almost I choreographed every decision that the new owner had made. I looked at it and I was like, why is he doing that? That's interesting. And I defaulted to, oh, you know what? He's made acquisitions before. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. And lo and behold, well, what I thought would happen happened. And, you get to 3 years down the line, the business is on its knees. It's a fraction of what it was. The whole relationship's in flames. And that really it made me turn around to think I was like there is a missing piece here. There's so much that people still don't know, and that's actually what drove me to do that. But important thing is that there is little bits in there. There's nuggets of information that you just need to know that you've got the right people around you to flag.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those, I think it almost goes back to knowing what you don't know. It almost goes back to the whole entrepreneurial CEO type. And I've worked with a lot of people like that through my entire career. Now, I got the opportunity to be brought up in a relatively corporate environment, but it did have at the very, very top of this fairly large business at that point, an entrepreneurial CEO. And you get brought up and you learn what to do and what not to do, and what you can do, what you can't do, and how things work, and how you read a balance sheet, and how things, what people are all about, how to lead, how to manage, all that sort of stuff. And I talk about the trail of destruction I've left behind me in all these people's lives as I marched through it, pretending I knew what I was doing. Hopefully, I'm a bit better now. No promises. But you don't get that if you were the entrepreneurial CEO, you were the founder. You jumped into something, age 20 something, and said, that's me, I'm the boss. And you've been the boss for 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. And nobody's ever stood up to you and said, mate, what the hell are you doing? You've no damn clue what you're about. Because they've been the boss, they've never thought to stop and ask, A, is this how you can deal with people? And they tend to have problems dealing with people. They're either tech founders or something like that. Or B, could I be wrong?
Mm.
Could I be wrong? Right? These are huge things. I think, like you said, it's the team in there and the cash flow, and they're both intrinsically linked. One leads to the other, right?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing because there's not really any school for entrepreneurship. Um,
Hmm.
no one to
School of life, mate. School of life.
exactly. You jump off the cliff and you build a plane while you're flying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really is like
Slow
that.
motion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, when running my practice, I made loads of mistakes. I'm sure I'll make more. And you
How
just
we learn.
that's all we've got to learn of, and to learn from. And I think that's really, really what it comes down to. And I think that sometimes what you find, generally, actually, the most successful entrepreneurs that I've met are always really humble people, really keen,
Hmm.
hungry to grow, hungry to learn. And they'll learn from anyone, and they're very generous with their time, incredible people, which is why I love working with them. Um, but what I think is sometimes it's quite interesting to know is that when someone's achieved a level of success, um, what sometimes happens is that they've achieved that success in an uneven way. So maybe they're really, really, really good at getting sales. right? And so as a result of the fact that they're really good at sales and marketing, they might have driven their business to £5 million revenue a year, and it might be making a profit, but they might be terrible at building out the team. And so they've got terrible culture and whatever. And actually, if they would have, if they would fix that one problem, they could be a £30 million business because
Yeah.
they're so good at sales,
Yeah.
but they haven't realized that they've got that problem yet. They just think that that's what the world looks like because in their sphere, that's all they've ever known. Um, and being an accountant, doing acquisitions, I'm quite privileged in that I can see those things because I can compare against other businesses and others and what they're doing and how it works. So I think that's really interesting.
So as you're comparing across these businesses, and you're doing this across ones that are successful, ones that are not, and you see them after the fact as well, what would you say are the disciplines, like operational disciplines, reporting disciplines, that really make a business feel high value or premium to a buyer way
It's-
before they actually get into the DD?
okay, so well, look, do you know what? Let's talk about value because that's what it comes down to. It comes to the value of a business. Um, and you won't be surprised for me to say is that in most small businesses, the value of the business is valued based off of the cash flow potential that it can generate, right? Um, if you think about a tech business, that's valued on the potential of that technology, the potential of that IP. But for most SME businesses, your solid businesses that are doing really good profit, but they're smaller, sort of let's say sub 30, 50 million revenue, the most of the economy. For all of those businesses, they're valued based on the cash that they can generate for an investor.
Yeah.
Now, for me, in the way that works is we take their profit that they earn or their earnings, which we call EBITDA, but essentially what that is, just think of it as your earnings or the cash earnings of your business. And then we apply a multiple based off of how risky I think this business is. So the less risky, the higher the multiple, and the more risky, the low, the lower the multiple. Really is actually that simple. Now, the first part of that is your earnings. If you don't have good accounts, if I can't trust your accounts, I can't trust your earnings figure. So there's almost not even a conversation to be had. So accounts, non-start, if no good accounts is a non-start, we can't really have a conversation because I've got no information for me to use to put a value on your business. And then I've developed sort of what I call, I think, a framework that, just based off of the 150 acquisitions that I've seen, what were the commonalities and how did that sort of link to what I said to you about the risk and the multiple? How does that link to the multiple? So I've called it sort of the score framework. And so it just makes it easy for me to remember.
Well, then
Um,
score, that sounds SCORE, right?
yeah,
Go on.
exactly. So we've got systems,
Mhm.
which, that again, not surprising. Commercials, so your sales pipeline, how mature is that process? Um, your organization, so the team that you've got. I mean, and let me stop on that for a second and just remind you that in a small business, the main asset that you're buying is the team. It is the culture. It's their knowledge of their industry. It's their knowledge of their systems. It's their knowledge of their customers, their suppliers. So that on it really easy to overlook, but massively important. Then it's the regulatory environment, so legals, what do your contracts look like, etc. Um, and then the last one doesn't it's sort of a cap on the whole system, and that's exposure. So what's your risk inherent in the business? If you've got maybe like let's say you've got three clients that account for 90% of the business, and if you lost one of them, all the profit evaporates. Very high risk. It's going to cap your multiple because it's almost irrelevant the fact that all the others are really good. you've got this incredible risk that's there, that's glaring, that's going to cap the multiple. So that's sort of how it works and what we do. And internally, we've developed a bit of a sort of a questionnaire so we can go through each of those areas and sort of give a business a grading so that we can put some science around this, notion of applying a multiple to a business.
Nice, nice. Now, the fundamental bit there you're saying is basically how much money you're making, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In the context of risk and team and the commercial environment, but it's how much money you're making and how much of that do you get to keep at the end of the day. Okay, and what's your profit? How, in your experience, do commercial leaders, and many of the people listening to this are going to be in that bucket, how do commercial leaders almost accidentally grow their revenue in ways that reduce the multiple rather than increase it?
Um, I think the biggest way in which it's done is that it all the sales relies on them. And it's almost counterintuitive because at the beginning of your business, you want all your sales to rely on you. You are the most powerful asset in your business, right? For the first million, maybe even £2 million of revenue, you, as in the business owner, are the most important asset in that business. Business does not function without you. Um, and you want to make sure that you're front and center because no one's going to sell your product with the same amount of passion, conviction as you are. And so you need to be front and center in that sales engine. And honestly, the issue that I find actually is that most entrepreneurs that I speak to, not all, but most, do tend to like that sales part of the process. They really enjoy it. They get a lot of they get the buzz,
They're
a
the
lot of buzz.
hero. They're the hero of the story.
Absolutely. They love being the hero. Um, and yes, and I think that can't continue when you're looking at an exit because I think an investor will know that it's going to lose, a business will lose its entrepreneurial stardust. It's going to lose that. And we're going to need to find a way to replace it and mitigate that risk and that loss. But if the loss is too great, if you own all the client relationships, if all the clients have no relationship with anyone else in your team other than you, um, if you're the only one who knows how to sell the product, if you're the only one who even knows the pricing, how to work out pricing of your product, um, then you're making it almost impossible for an investor to come in and actually take over.
So, I mean, you're the hero, the salesperson, the commercial leader, and the founder are all the same person. And the relationship with the customers is it's with them and not the business.
Mm,
They're the hero. And to some extent, they want to make themselves the hero because that's actually the face of the business is the founder. What is it that you're then, what do you need to do? I mean, because what I see is you want to try and move from founder-led sales. And I get a lot of conversations with founders who say, oh, I'm fed up selling. I don't want to do this anymore. I need to step back. I said, mate, you can't do that. You have to keep doing this for like another 2 years. And even if you are acquired, you're
yeah,
still going to be doing this for at least another 2 years because to stand up an enterprise sales motion is going to take you 18 months. Easy.
yeah.
I mean, I can bring in the very best enterprise salesperson. It'll take 18 months. It really will. So you need to be keeping on going
Hmm.
for that length of time. If you then look at that founder and you need to try and see if they understand how they do what they do, I think. Because if it's just, oh, I just go and talk to people and have some phone calls and money comes, right? Okay.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, is the one diligence question that really just instantly reveals whether or not a founder really understands their own magic, their own growth engine?
You know what? It's interesting. I don't even ask it because I know that they don't. Because the truth is that most founders are unconsciously competent.
Yes, yes.
What we do is we do monitor how they operate in the business. How much time do they spend in the business? How much does the business rely on them? What does their email what does that emails, in tray look like? That sort of thing. But most founders are unconsciously competent. They will tell you that they're not doing much, but actually they're doing loads. They can't always tell you exactly what they're doing. They can't tell you how they're doing it. They can't tell you. And I th what at the beginning we used to try asking questions like, well, how much of the sales do you do, and how much, it's just irrelevant. The questions. It's not because people are trying to be disingenuous. I actually think they've
They
just
don't
become
know.
yeah. I think they've just become so
Mm.
unconsciously competent at what they do. It's just second nature to them. They don't even think it's that special. I think that's why they also struggle with hiring, by the way,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
because
it's huge.
because it's the same thing. They just think, oh, I'm not that special. I'll just get someone who's like me, and they'll fill in. No one's like you.
Which is sometimes a bad thing, and sometimes it's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
If you then think again to that founder, what are the again commercial because this is all I think the cure for pretty much any business problems is a good pipeline.
Yeah.
Uh, what commercial decisions that somebody makes today are the ones that are going to most reliably expand that multiple later?
Do you know what it is? It's about having a documented, very clear, easily replicated process for building a pipeline.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. At the beginning, all your clients are going to come to you because of your reputation, your personal reputation. And that's fine. Lean into it. Richard Branson, he leans into it all the time. It's absolutely fine for that to be the beginning. But afterwards, you need to have something that's going to follow up outside of you, outside of just, oh, I'm coming to work there because I like Saul, or Paul's great, and so we're just going to go and we'll do the consulting. It needs to be people either they've heard the name of the brand in your local area, or that's your ideal referral engine, or you've got a network of referrers who refer your business, not you specifically, your business. They refer your business. They love the way your business works. And some of that actually does come down to the operations
Mhm.
because, you know, generally, if I think about it in my business, if we're really good with, let's say, mortgage brokers, right? If we give mortgage brokers what they need really easily, really quickly, mortgage brokers love working with us. Then what happens is when a client has a really difficult accountant, they say, I'm not so happy with my accountant. Mortgage broker says, oh, you know what? Well, these guys are great. Why don't you go and work with them? And it's like that in almost every industry that there are people who will refer work in, and or you might have a pipeline, social media presence, all of that stuff. Those are assets. Daniel Priestley talks about it in his book 24 Assets. It's a fantastic book. It's actually
Mm.
right behind me. But he's absolutely spot on when he said that um, those things, those marketing assets that you've got, those are genuine assets in the business. And they don't show up necessarily on your balance sheet, but they do show up in your multiple. And when you've got really good marketing assets and you can demonstrate that they're really good because you can demonstrate the pipeline and you're very good at predictably saying, this is all the work that we're probably gonna win. And I can tell you that I know that we're gonna win 200 grand worth of work in 3 months' time because this is how it works in our pipeline, and we know how the pipeline operates. An acquirer, it makes it very easy for an acquirer because, as you
Mhm.
say, everything is downwind of lead gen and the commercials. And when I've got business coming in, I can make any decision work. I might need to rearrange things. I might need to change profitability. I might need to support the team, whatever it is. I might need to fill gaps, but I can do it because I've got cash flow coming in because I'm making sales.
Is it, is it? Where, so if that's what is going to expand the multiple, where do these same people, these same founders, destroy the post-exit wealth that exists just by making poor decisions?
Um,
And
well, the
basically,
first thing is
avoid
not
doing
being,
this. Avoid this.
yeah, yeah. The first thing is making assumptions about their valuation,
Mm.
right? I think that most owners that I've ever encountered have at some point or other assumed that their business is worth a lot more than it's actually worth. Normally,
10 times revenue, maybe.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
no.
yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I do think the exaggeration has become a little bit more realistic these days. When I first started
Six
it,
times revenue.
yeah,
No. Just
exactly.
no.
Yeah, um, yeah.
Three? How about two? Yeah, you're getting close, sunshine.
So yeah, I think that that unrealistic expectation. What ends up happening, which is absolutely bizarre. I still don't really understand it. Business owners are incredible people. They're really often the ones who are really successful. They're savvy, they're shrewd, they're organized, they understand their market, they understand commercials of selling. As we said, they're humble people, care about the world. Somehow, when they're selling their house, they know exactly what they're doing. When they come to sell their business, somehow they stop acting on fact. They stop thinking about what are the mechanics. I think it's because it's all so intangible and they're not used to it. But they stop thinking about their buyer. They stop thinking about, what does my buyer's mindset look like? How's my buyer thinking? What do they care about? What are they interested on? Suddenly, it's just about I'm selling my baby. Well,
Yeah.
my baby's worth like 50 million to me. I don't know. You've come here offering me 500 grand. I'm the one doing you a deal.
Yeah.
I'm doing you a favor here, type thing. And actually, I think that's what it is there's so much emotion involved. You have to almost remove the emotion from the deal, and that is really difficult, because there's identity play, there's psychology involved. There's so much going on. Merger and acquisitions is more about people than it is about
Yeah.
numbers. Um, but in terms of coming back to that mistake, I think the biggest mistake is not acting on fact. And I always tell people to get valuation of their business, make sure that they understand their business, and start preparing your business for an exit before you're ready for the exit. Because what happens often is we get people coming to us. Most of our clients are doing acquisitions, right? Because most of our clients will come to us for tax planning. We'll support them with tax planning, give them a bit of extra income, support them then to make a couple of acquisitions and then prepare for an exit. And when you do it that way, you understand the process a little bit better because you've been in the acquirer's seat. And so you can sort of enhance your exit yourself because you understand the process more. Um, but lots of people who come to us from the exit side, and sort of say, look, we're looking for an exit in a few years' time. Can you help us? Yeah, fine. That's great. But most people will come to us and say, I need to sell this business. How long is it going to take me to sell? And what can I do to get the most valuation? And at that point, they're already tired. They don't have what it takes to go in and start changing systems. So we're doing damage limitation rather than let's make it as great as it can be. Um, and there's a big difference between those two things. I think people don't realize it takes 18 months to sell a business, minimum. And that is a business that's ready for sale. It takes
Mhm.
18 months to go. To find the right buyer, negotiations, to get to heads of terms with the right buyer, sign exclusivity with under the heads of terms, and then complete the deal with diligence. I've seen them drag on for years, unfortunately, in difficult cases because the business wasn't ready. So, and people I think leave it too late, um, and then they're in sort of a more difficult situation and end up selling out of need rather necessity rather than yeah,
And the 18 months, by the way, when you're doing this, your business has to keep going. It has to
exactly,
keep being profitable. It has to keep growing, despite you, the founder, now being dragged from pillar to post and doing different things.
absolutely, yeah, which is
So
really
hard.
difficult.
It's so hard to do. Uh, so what's exciting for you right now? What are you working on? You said you've got a book coming out.
I do, yes. I've got a book coming out at the end of the year. That is, not the end of the year, I should say, end of the summer,
Mm.
towards the end of the year. So it's hopefully coming out in September. We've just dropped the wait list for that, which is going really well. I am I have done 150 acquisitions for other people, or more than that. I've stopped counting now, which is an insane number actually when I sit and think about it. But never done my own. I've sold a business, but never made an acquisition myself. And I am working with someone at the moment. We're just launching well, we've launched actually a private equity fund. We've raised a bit of capital, um, and we're going out to make a number of acquisitions. So that's really exciting. And then
So
I run my
what's
firm.
right? What's your thesis then? Because when the people listening to this may well be of interest.
For us,
Mm,
we don't want to operate as standard private equity operate. We want it to feel like, you know, a someone who's going to maintain my culture and my values is coming to take over the business. Our our modus operandi is not about, strip it and flip it.
mm,
What we want to do is we want to take really good businesses with really good cultures, empower their teams, um, create, a leadership. We'll need to sort of create that five-star leadership, should we call it, because we've got a five-star leader exiting. Um, and so we'll need to create a new tier of five-star leadership, empower their teams, and let the businesses grow together. So we'll probably bolt them on, let's say, garden maintenance, we'd bolt them on with a number in the same area, in the same industry,
mm,
excuse me, same industry, um,
mm.
and then build it up for a wider exit in a number of years. But absolutely, it's about building on what's there, on the cultural assets that already exist, rather than just sort of saying, "Oh, well, here's a nice client base. Let's just bolt that on with something else and get rid of the team and all of that sort of stuff." Not at all. Well, yeah.
Any particular scale sector?
So we're actually looking earlier than private equity. So private equity normally don't really get involved at below 1.5. I've seen some of the smaller bit equity
EBITDA.
houses. Yeah. I've seen one of the smaller ones, some of the smaller ones now start getting involved a little bit lower, about 1 million. For us, we're looking at sort of the 500,000,
Oh,
and between 500,000 and 1 million. Um, our idea is to maybe buy, 4 or 5, grow it, keep it nice and stable in an
mm.
industry, and then at
Well,
some point sell it out to a family office.
mm. I mean, the challenge I've always seen with trying to do that, when the reason if you get below the million, below the 2 million thereabouts, is just simply the cost, the acquisition cost, the DD cost, the legal
It's the
costs.
same, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
makes it unprofitable.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because it takes exactly the same cost to do a
Yeah.
business well, not exactly, but pretty much the same to do a deal at £1 million in revenue as it does to do one that's 10 million in revenue. Um, the reason why we just think we think that's a really big opportunity area at the
Oh, it
moment.
is for sure. I mean,
There's so many in that market. You're
yeah.
right. The upfront costs are a little bit heavier.
Mm.
Um, and the management in those businesses isn't as mature as it would be in a
Mm.
1.5 million EBITDA business, which is why private equity don't really
Yeah.
look at that
More
level.
work.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we think with building out the right sort of management structure to manage the group, we think we can do it. So
All
that's the
right.
plan.
Well, where do people find you when you have some opportunities for you? Or when we
Well,
need you, when we need you.
so look, LinkedIn is always the best place. I'm always on there posting, keeping things active. But I do have an offer for anyone that when I've been on a podcast, we do a valuation call where it's sort of like a half-hour call. We can go through and just give you an idea of what your business is roughly worth. Obviously, it's not war and peace, and it's not like a full deep dive or anything like that. But it's a half an hour, absolutely free for anyone who's coming off of a podcast. So I'll give you that link. Um, and the last I can give you the book wait list as well. So the book is coming
Absolutely.
out in
Well,
September, so I will give you the wait list for that.
so we'll make sure that those links, when you send them through, we'll get them into the description on this in the episode here. And I highly encourage anybody and everybody to keep an eye out on Saul Cohen and what he's doing. It's very interesting stuff here. Obviously, an experienced operator. and with some great potential. I look forward to reading the book. Have you got a title for the book yet?
I do. It's called Finding Gold.
Ah, oh, where are you? Finding gold. How's that? Well, that's magnificent. Saul Cohen, all that remains for me is to say thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
Thank you.